Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
And it's really a thrill that I'm here and see so many dear faces that I missed last year and new people. The fact that we're conducting a 10th Sahavas is really quite something. We're all celebrating a little about that. As Baba said, wherever my lovers are, there I am. And you may not know just how this Sahavas got started. I thought I'd just tell a little bit about that. About 10 years ago, Chris Pearson invited a few of us to his cabin, which is up in the mountains here. And we enjoyed that weekend together so much that we thought, well, maybe more people together would be fun. And as we had gone up the mountain to his cabin, we stopped to watch the stars. We got out and we watched these incredible stars that you don't see in LA because of the smog, you know, smell A. And there, on this road, there was a fork of the road right there. And there I suddenly saw Baba. And I didn't say anything, I never say anything, but I thought that's nice, he's being with us, you know. Well, as we tried to find a bigger place to have a gathering, we finally wound up at Loch Lomond, which was just on that little side road. So I feel that Baba could see way into the future that we'd have these wonderful Sahavas. We began in that little camp in Loch Lomond. And there have been Sahavas now in many places. It seems to be something that we enjoy being together in Baba's real Sahavas, which means company. Baba said Sahavas is the give and take of love. And he would say, when you're with me, just absorb my love. We would have wonderful Sahavas with Baba, and often it was just being with him, the music, the company of others gathered together. The East-West gathering was a wonderful, unique Sahavas where his Eastern and Western lovers flowed together. And when Baba had promised that to us, that was in 1956, he called us all in the hotel in San Francisco and said, next year, that was, you know, it was going to be next year, 57, I want you all to come to India. I'm going to plan this East-West gathering. And he would point, you must come, and you must come, and you must come. And we started calling ourselves the musts. You know, we must come. And as everything with Baba eventually comes true. It came true in '62. We did have this wonderful Sahavas with Baba. And now as you go to India at Amrititi, it's like another East-West gathering. All over the world gathering. Makes you feel how universal Baba is. I never fail to be amazed at that, because in various groups, you know, there's so many differences of age and background and ethnic group and education, everything. And especially when you feel it when you're in India. How universal Baba's appeal is. How did he do that as a silent person? It's just amazing. It's just love. It's love. Baba said the links of love are what draw you to me. And that was one of the lessons I learned even before I met Baba personally. I was drawn to him through really links of love. At that time especially it was important because Baba was not well known. There were no books in libraries or bookstores or anything. You just had to know somebody. You had to have a personal contact to ever find out about Baba, because Baba had sent the 3 women, Western women, back to the United States to spread his message of love and truth. And Narina Machabelli was the one that gave the talks, and that was the very beginning of any public outreach. But even then, it wasn't, a main thing in New York City. You just sort of had to know that. And I heard about it through my mother's interest in astrology. She had an astrologer who at that time was interested in Baba. And he's the one that gave my name to them, saying, well, Filis might be ready for this, And I'm not telling tonight how I came to Baba, but the first lesson that I did have to learn in Baba's world was patience. You see, I heard about him in the end of 1942. At that time, it was very exciting. Baba was going to break his silence any minute, you know. And we were all waiting, you know, messages would come, and Baba would say maybe in the next 6 months, and maybe this and maybe that. And we were all anxiously awaiting his return to the United States. And it was so marvelous that I just didn't pay any attention to my life here. You know, I gave up jobs, I floated around, and I thought, well, you know, Baba's coming, he's going to break his silence, that's it. You know, you don't have to do any more. You just float up. But patience, we had to go through the war, 42, 43, 44, 45. We had to wait every year expecting Baba to come, but taking with patience. That's my lesson in patience, waiting for him to come. It was about 9 years. Baba came finally in 1952. He was scheduled to come in 51, but his house wasn't ready. That was the excuse. And I used to get mad at that architect. Why can't he finish Baba's house? You know, why do we have to wait a whole year more? And when you think about waiting, that may not seem a long time, 9 years, but 9 years can be so radically filled with things that happen to you and changes in the inside and outside that I really was very impatient at times. It seemed like just maybe Baba, I'd never meet him because there was the war, first of all. You couldn't go there, and Baba couldn't travel. The war stopped all travel. And then right at the end of the war, Baba, you know, called Noreen and Elizabeth back to India, and then sent them back to the United States and started the new life. And the new life was a big shock. It's hard to imagine it now, maybe perhaps reading it doesn't give you that feeling, but it's like Baba was just going off. Nobody knew what the end of that new life would be. He abandoned the ashram, and we'd get these messages, my nazar will not be on you, I will not be treated like a master, I'm your companion. And we'd have all these lists of things to try to follow with those going with him. One of them was, I'll never forget, is still something to think about. He said, no matter how you feel, make no show of your feelings. That is, if you know, this is very difficult, and I think it was the most difficult thing for them on the new life, to show no depths of despair or displeasure or anything, nor, you know, exaggerated pleasure. It's like you just had to keep an even keel through the new life. And it was a strange thing that so many of us experienced through those years over here. So much turmoil, it was almost like we were sharing the new life. I remember I used to get job after job, and no matter what I did, I'd be fired or laid off or something. I had so many jobs and couldn't seem to get a grasp on anything. But the strange thing was that I met a lot of people that way, and I think that was part of it, whom eventually heard about Baba because, you know, I had worked side by side with them in a factory or something. So I had to cool my heels and really learn a lesson of patience, and I think we have to wait for Baba, you know, what is it, 600 and where are we now? 700 years. That's going to be a long time until Baba returns. And Baba would say, you know, you have to have that tremendous excitement and energy and enthusiasm for the spiritual path. But on the other hand, you have to have this infinite patience. And it's hard. It's like, you know, one horse is going, you know, 80 miles an hour, another one's just plodding along. And that's the way your life turns out sometimes, you know, the plodding part, you know. But you have to keep the enthusiasm for Baba. And it's a hard thing to do. I find that many people feel that that enthusiasm goes down, and you have to fire yourself up inside with Baba's love again. As if he's going to come around the corner, you know, 1 second from now. And in fact, Baba said, always act as if you're in my presence. You know, somebody asked him, well, how should I behave, Baba? And he said, just act as if, don't do anything you wouldn't do in my presence. And that cuts out a lot of stuff, let me tell you. Try having a good fight with someone. You know, a lot of things, cussing out your boss and all sorts of stuff. So, as I say, I try to prepare these talks, but I wander all over, you know that. Another friend of mine had a lovely dream. She hasn't met Baba, but Baba came to her in a dream and said, you know, the spiritual life is so simple. It's so simple. And that impressed me so much. You know, sometimes something that happens to someone else can be just as impressive as it happened to you. And I've thought about that so much, especially when you're put on the hot seat up here, you see, and asked to explain how you follow Baba. And you're not doing it too well, and you feel a little guilty sitting up here. But I think we can get so complicated in our mentality and our background, maybe, in trying to figure out the spiritual path. What does Baba mean when it is so simple? And I figure out that it's the love aspect that is the love for God. And once you have that, everything can fall in place. It's like a perfect design that happens if you get the center just right. You know, it unfolds. You know, I've lived my life a little bit as a creative person. And if you kind of relax, your creativity inside lets the design flow from just one simple beginning, one simple thought. And I feel that way, that Baba gave us this seed. In fact, I almost felt that at times when Baba would touch me, put his hand on my head, you know, or tap my shoulder with his alphabet board or something. A little spark of love must have gone in my soul. And from that, I have to develop. And I like Baba's way because that unfolds from right within, from the very center of yourself, into what you can be, or you're supposed to be, in his garden. You know, you're the particular flower. Nobody else is going to be exactly like you. You see how these beautiful flowers are. They're all so individual. And they come from within. A flower really unfolds from one point. And that's the simplicity of Baba's work with people. And that's why he can do it so rapidly. You know, people would meet Baba, and I had the privilege of introducing so many people to Baba, even though my mind would go absolutely blank. You know, what can I say about this person? I don't remember anything about them. At one time I was really stuck, this very charming lady that came to our group down, and I thought, what do I say about her? I don't know anything about her. And then I said, she's a great lover of God, Baba. And everything was beautiful. Baba smiled, and you know, it's like the perfect thing to say, which is all you need to say. What I'm saying is the way Baba worked instantly to throw this seed of love into people. Hundreds of people would go by. You'd introduce, because you were introducing them, you were more conscious of time. They'd spend maybe 1 minute with Baba, 2 minutes with Baba, and then they'd go, and the next one would come. How could he do his job so rapidly? It's just that look and that throwing of the seed of love. Someone asked this afternoon about people that you tell about Baba and what you should do to bring them to Baba and so on. But so many people met Baba. I know you would like to meet Baba, but so many people met Baba physically and then drifted totally away, no contact with him or with us or with anything. It's like he's planted the seed somewhere, and where it will grow or how it will flower, you don't know. But sometimes you'd follow that up. I know one person that I happened to follow up later was not a Baba lover at all. In fact, she was a woman who was just driving my mother up to meet Baba. She was a chauffeur, so to speak. And she came in the room at the Hollywood Roosevelt, and Baba looked at her, just being love at her. Just a total stranger, you know. I was introducing my mother. I said, well, this is Garrett. But, you know, he looked at Garrett as if this was a long-lost soul. And she didn't become a Baba lover, you know. It's just, oh yes, Phyllis has her trip, and, you know, so. But right after that, her life sort of began to move in a different direction. She started studying to be a religious science minister. She got her graduate thing and then didn't follow it as a career, but she's the most selfless person in helping other people, and always helping people, even now. And it's like, you see, Baba did his work not up here, not I am a Baba lover and I go to groups, but therefore I'm ready for realization, you know. But he unfolded what she needed. And another little story, just a similar, just people that you met casually. I met this girl in a factory where I worked, a very handsome Jewish girl, a refugee from Berlin. And I said, well, you want to come and meet Baba. Why? Oh, well, you know, you're always complaining you never meet any men, and you want to be married. You know, she just wanted to be married and have children and have a home. You know, and New York is horrible. You know, it's a terrible place. And so I said, come meet Baba. So I introduced her to Baba, and she smiled, and Baba gave her a grape, you know. And I forgot all about her, Ursula. Another Ursula. And so a month or two later, she called me. I said, Phyllis, I met the most wonderful man. We're engaged, you know, and everything. You see, Baba just knew for her that was her thing to unfold that way at that moment. And it was wonderful to see how Baba worked. So, you know, changing people's karma so wonderfully, rapidly. And people say, why do you think he's God? And it's because he can work with everyone from within, from that innermost plane, and do it just like fire, you know, like throwing diamonds out. It's just wonderful to watch. And as you stayed in the room with him meeting and giving out so much love, you just start going like this, isn't that right, darling? You just start swaying with the love. It was hot too, but you know, you start drowning because you're just sharing this incredible ocean. Actually, Baba is the ocean of love. When he says, I am the ocean, you know, you just got your toe in it a little and you just start drowning. And it's very hard to express that feeling of love that Baba is. You know, he's given all these wonderful intellectual answers for the world. I mean, there's no metaphysics today anywhere equal to what Baba has laid out. If you're much of a scholar in theology, you just can't match it anywhere. Baba has given so much. I think, you know, that's my private little reason why the book hasn't appeared. He's already given an incredible amount. And how are we absorbing it yet? What more little detail do you want to know about Planet X out there or something? You know, it's so much of it. But that spark of love, now he's still giving it out. That is the most amazing thing. When I see so many young children here loving Baba, I mean, it's just Baba goes on and on. It's Baba's work. I don't know what I'm learning from it, but anyway, I'm learning. My lesson was that love communicates directly. His silence was perfect in the sense that there was no barrier of words, there was no barrier of understanding words or intellect or statements or anything. And yet Baba did, of course, gesture things said, but the best was that pulse from heart to heart. As I said, he could do it in 1 minute or just a glance. Baba said, I do all my work in that first glance when I meet you. The rest is, you know, kind of fun for you, but we appreciate, because we're children, we need to be petted and loved and spoiled and written to and directions given. Yes, what do I do with my life? Yes, go be a chiropractor or a dancer or whatever. But, you know, for him, his work is that glance. And I don't mean that he raises you up to explain, but as I said, he unfolds your heart in that incredible way. These lights remind me of when I was on the Jim Pine show, Joe Pine show. But I had to get up in front of the TV camera and say, he introduced me, this is the girl who said she met God in human form. I said, yes, I did, Joe, you know. Meanwhile, the TV lights are making me cry, you know. It was fun. But I did meet God in human form. But where is he now? He's not in the human form, but he is everywhere. And if you ever doubt that, just try to challenge Baba. He will just make you almost feel physically that he's there. But, you know, I had a friend who went to some other small little guru, you know, and she was very discouraged. This woman guru had said, you know, you have it all within. God is within. You just have to go within. Everything can be solved. You've got it all in here. All you have to do is unfold it. And that's great. But she said, she called me up. She said, I felt so lonely. I mean, where is God that answers my prayer? The God out there, you know, who responds to me. If it's all within me and it's all buried there, how do I, you know, I don't feel it. You see, this teacher forgot that God is both within you and as the God-man, as the Christ within and without. And I think that's very important because a lot of theology has gone to that side. You know, God is the ground, the void, the this, the that, and in the self-actualization, he's within, he's the higher self within, and so on. But he's also there. He's MeherBaba, he's the Christ. He answers you, his presence is there. He's still the responding heart of the universe. Baba said, all prayers come to me, which means I answer them. You know, supposing you can't reach God within, you know, there's Baba there. And I think it's very important. I think we should never just fall to one side. And also never forget that God is within, you know. It's working both ways. This is the way the creation has to unfold. Yes, we do unfold that we are God, but we need the help out there. And I'm certainly one that needs it. Well, I don't know, that was some lesson somewhere. But, oh yeah, the second one I have down here is the value of suffering. You know, everyone asks this question. Why is Baba doing this to me? And, or why me? That's the why me question. And it, you know, when it really hits you, of course you feel that it's hard to go through and you want to know why there is suffering. So many people have turned away from religion or from God because the world seems such a mess, or individuals are suffering so incredibly, and it creates the agnostic or atheist point of view. And the few people I do know personally that did leave Baba left because the suffering they went through was so intense. They couldn't rationalize this suffering with a God, you know, that's love. How could the God that is love make you suffer? And that's where I think Baba has given us not only the intellectual explanation of it, but through his own love and compassion, showed the caring side of God, and through his own suffering. Like when I, in 58, I had a very bad hip. Baba had a bad hip. So every morning he'd go like this, you know, how's your hip? And I'd go, how's your hip? You know. But then my hip sort of torqued and went out really bad at the center. So Baba immediately, you know, I heard the clap, Filis, Baba wants you. And I went into the lagoon cabin, and I hadn't any thought of asking for Baba's healing or anything. I never had that idea. But I looked at him, and his eyes just looked so deep into mine. And he said, I give you a little bit of my infinite suffering. And several other experiences one time, and he took my hand. I had unconsciously asked that question, and I felt this vibration go up. I felt like his blood going all through me, and his suffering, his Christ suffering. We think more, of course, all the manifestations of the avatar suffer just because they don't physically show it in some way or other. That's the difference between the avatar and the other Satgurus and so on, that he experiences suffering of man, and he experiences it as man. He experiences it just like you do. And so it's, if you can imagine that he's experiencing everybody's suffering of the whole humanity, what state he has to endure. We were sitting with him in the home of Hilda Fuchs in Hollywood, and it often did this. I am the Christ, undoubtedly. And at that moment, you could feel that his suffering was there, the suffering of Christ. So, he suffers, we suffer. What is the point of it all? Well, Baba puts it very bluntly. He said, there is no progress on the path without suffering. And you think about it, suffering is like, well, let's say you have a pain in your body. Pain is very necessary to tell you that something's wrong. You know, a person who feels no pain, they have to be watched constantly because it hurts them. So when you suffer, that shows something is wrong. And the simple fact that's wrong is that you have an ego. So any suffering can be traced back to the ego. You know, you're frustrated, your ego is frustrated, either on some level, physical, mental, emotional, and that creates suffering. So therefore, you try to find happiness, you try to end the suffering, which, if you're intelligent, if you understand what the masters are saying, and they've all said the same thing, you get rid of the ego. It's the only way you're going to get rid of the suffering. So it's kind of useless to beg a master for healing or immediate change of karma or something, because that's what you're doing. You're trying to get rid of finally all suffering by learning to get rid, shed, you know, the ego bit by bit. And it's true, the person who doesn't suffer has no ego. So it's like the Buddha said, you have to take off layer by layer. And someone complained, you know, yes, I'm an onion, and you're peeling me away, that's why I cry. Baba's peeling away. And so you have to, in a sense, be grateful. And it's not a cliche, this is something you have to learn if you're ever going to follow Baba, more than just nice, comfortable, cupboard love with Baba. That he will make you suffer, because he's going to peel away that ego. However, physical suffering, which is what I've experienced recently, is the easiest of all. The one you should complain about the least, because, like Baba said, it's the quickest way to get rid of the karma. If you looked at yourself the way Baba would look at you, it would be somebody, you know, covered with incredible blank something, you know, dirt encrusted from millions and millions of lives. He's got to literally scrub that off. And just like very dramatically in the story of Nashawan, you know, he was just a little baby and he had this tremendous skin disease, and Baba, the doctor had said it had to be scrubbed off, and none of his relatives were able to do it. You know, so Baba scrubbed it off. And but it's like scrubbing off this tremendous scaly deposit of your ego, and that hurts. It just hurts. So if you understand it, you welcome it. But if you don't understand it, you'll get mad, and you'll get angry with Baba, or feel that you're being mistreated, and so forth. And of course, there's a lot of unnecessary suffering which you create by holding to bad emotional patterns and all that. But don't you see that if you're doing that to yourself, if you create this suffering for yourself, the thing is to be aware that you're doing it. And that's where the modern psychology and the therapy is so helpful, because they can show you how you are creating this self-imposed suffering. You really, they don't get to the very root, let's get rid of the whole ego. But basically they're working toward that in Jungian psychology, to be a more adjusted person, a happier person. You unfold your higher self and get rid of these basic shadow projections and accumulated, you know, self-delusions. So I think I see very much hope in a new progress of fusion between an advance in psychology toward understanding the ego mind, and Baba working from the top, saying, yes, the ego mind has to go. Manonash, how many of you have studied the discourse on Manonash that came out in the New Life? The whole New Life, which Baba says we're in, is to get rid of this mind, Manonash. And to do that, you know, it's like giving up everything. Baba said, give up, give up. And, or it's like Duncan said that he thanked Baba not for what Baba gave him, but for what Baba took away. So that's one little lesson, that suffering is necessary. There's a beautiful interview, unfortunately there's only one print of it, and they show it at Myrtle Beach, where it was supposed to go on the TV channel. What was it, Charles? The Gary Moore show? Dave Garraway show. And Murshid is there asking Baba, why is there suffering? And Baba said, there is suffering to get rid of suffering. He gives the beautiful answer right there. And I wish we could get more copies of that to show. So I'll switch to the third lesson that Baba taught me, was in the sense that to have a sense of humor. And that part of Baba I love. You know, I gave a whole talk one time on Baba's sense of humor. The first day or two that I met Baba, I never forget how he looked. He looked so beautiful then before the accident, you know, profile and everything. He said, the universe is a joke. It's a mighty joke. And sometimes a very sad joke, but it is a joke. So, you know, what does that mean? It means that it's to be taken lightly, not seriously. And it's illusion, and you can't get serious about illusion. The only thing you get serious about is reality. What is reality? God is reality. Another sentence that Baba said to us the first evening we were seated with him in the girls' house there was, inscribe this on your heart, and he went like this. And I could feel it. Adele, did you feel it? You felt. Only God is real, and the only thing that matters is love for God. So with these few little things, like pearls that Baba gave us, you can build, you know, a whole library of philosophy. And I think that's what I like about Baba, that if he said, I've not come to teach. He'd just throw these little things at you, that the universe is a joke, take it lightly. He always liked good humor. He liked to hear jokes. He'd ask people for jokes, no matter if he could think of a good one or not, you know. Murshida was very clever. She kept a little Reader's Digest under her chair, you know, to read all these corny jokes. But again, in the New Life, one of the things was don't show emotion, you know, so keep it light, no matter if the truck breaks down 10 times or the food has gone sour. You know, you've probably all, I hope, read Kitty's book. It's just amazing, the story of the Blue Bus Tours, and also the New Life phase that Mani describes and all, is that they had to keep light, they had to keep good mood. And this is something I noticed about Baba, that he liked people around, I've said this before, he liked people around him as companions who were able to keep a good mood, that weren't sour-faced or disturbed all the time or want to know the answer to the riddle of the universe, you know. So those are the people Baba enjoyed, because their mood, you know, is in the middle range, you know. They're not depressed, they're not manic, ecstasy, you know. Both can be very boring. But, you know, just humor, just light, just normal. And he always had his favorite little clowns, so to speak. I say I'm the clown act. You know, at the circus here, you always put the clowns before the good performance. So I'm the first one to speak to him. And Baba liked that. There were certain people like Harry Kenmore, Harry Florsheim, or Delia, or Anita, who could just, you know, on the spur of the moment come out and say something witty or half witty, you know, and en famille, you know, something witty that may not in public seem so witty, but And Baba liked that, your ability to control bad moods. And I saw so much change, and I still see change in people who do stick to Baba. Their ability to handle moods improves. And because you're hanging on to Baba's sense of humor, sense of lightness, sense of, it's not the biggest tragedy in the world, you know. In fact, he says the only serious thing that ever happens is to not have love for God. Now think about that the next time you hear something really tragic, you know. The only serious thing is lack of love for God. And you have to think about that. It is absolutely true. I feel most sorry for someone who just doesn't care about God, who's somewhere who has no feeling for it at all, you know. And how lucky you are that you have a feeling. You have a feeling for Baba, who is God. Or people who don't label it Baba, but they have a feeling because they have a feeling for what life is really about, you know, the core, the kernel of God as our Creator, our Father, and our friend, and ourselves. And to not have that feeling, it's just a tragic misunderstanding of the whole thing. No wonder people commit suicide or write black plays or black paintings. You know, I went to an art exhibit of, I don't remember the name, but he's very well known. His canvases are nothing but huge black canvases, you know, with one little white line over here, you know. And I thought, God, this man is so depressed. Can you call this art? I mean, really, I know it has its place in art. I'm not, you know, but really, what kind of understanding of the world is this? And the same with a lot of art today. It's so, you know, you throw a few lumber boards on the floor and that's sculpture, you know. No feeling for life. I think it is a tragedy. And Baba wanted us to be creative. Again, I go back to that point. As a human being, to unfold your talent, your being, your worth in the world. There's nobody who's worthless in the world. I get so many vibrations from people who feel worthless. I mean, how can you feel worthless? You're a unique person. God took all His time just to create you. Why are you going around, I feel so worthless? You know, how can you do, that's the first thing Baba works on, and to make you feel good about yourself. First of all, because you've gotten into His presence, you know, that's tremendous, you know, from the evolution. And you feel it, even though you don't. And then He pats you, He smiles at you, He loves you, asks how your tummy is, have you gone to the bathroom, anything. You feel like a baby petted, you know, with love. And it takes away that feeling that you're not important. Everybody's important to Baba. Sometimes He'll even play on your feeling of needing to be more important than the other one. And you know how He does that trick of boosting your way up, and then bong, you're out. And the next one's in. You know, and then you, and you know, it comes back to me in my dreams. When I dream of Baba so much, I'm running and pushing away all these people. I want to get to Baba. It's like everybody's in your way. And you do feel that with the crowd around Baba. You want to be there, right there, in the apple of His eye, you know, because you're so special. And you want that special treat. And then Baba catches your eye across the room. You know, it was amazing. In '62, there were 10,000 people in front of Baba, but he managed in the most incredible way to establish contact with each one, and each one would feel that he was getting an eye glance, a special thing or a special message, I don't know, in the heart or with gestures or what. And in a room full of people, we all shared the same moment of time, and people had totally different impressions because Baba's working uniquely with each one. Like you're all alone with Baba in this room. And you're getting all this love and attention, but He's doing the same thing to everybody, you know. And that's, again, because He's inside and He can, you know, He has a few tricks up His sleeve that way. So that was one lesson, to be humorous, to be light, to keep it light, you know. Because all these disasters are only shadows. They're shadow plays. You can't paint a picture with just white paint. You've got to have black paint, black and white. And the balance of opposites, that's where you get into the real intellectual side of karma. You have to balance. It's like a scale. You've accumulated all this karma, plus and minus. And Baba has to bring it just to this balance point. He doesn't wipe out the negative. He doesn't wipe out in that sense. That's why Baba says, I don't wipe out karma. I don't take away karma. And you have to understand what he's doing. He's balancing your karma and helping you to balance it. Because only at the balance point are you free. It's like a trick latch on your cage that only works, if just two things are in balance, and suddenly you're free. So a lot of psychology, or fake psychology, or bad Christian Science, or whatever it is, says everything has to be positive, no negative. And they just become unbalanced. You can't have Maya that's only positive. Nobody. You could pray your knees raw and you'd still, get whacked. Your car generator fails or something, or you get sick, or your kid gets sick, or worse things, You are not going to get out of it by doing all the good things. But you do try to balance. And since most of us have an overload of the negative, we do try to work hard on the positive, Every religion tells you to be really good and really selfless and all that. Well, once in a while, you might need a little on the other side. But you have to be very careful about that. Because you don't know. The chances are your balance sheet stinks. I'm sorry, these words are, so try to be positive. Try to do the good things. But it is true that the balance is the whole secret of the thing. And in Zen Buddhism, they particularly go into that. And certain yogi disciplines, and all that. Because it's the balance that does it. It's not pushing for great moral good acts, or, that's why karma yoga is so tricky. Because it's the balancing that has to work. And that's what Baba does so quickly with you. He takes what karmic things are in your computer chart and he chuckles them around to help you balance them. He doesn't wipe them out, The reason is because if he starts fiddling with his own infinite law of karmic balance and working out, if you juggle your figures in your account book, cook your books here, then something else is wrong. The bank doesn't, you can't start fiddling with the whole thing. He has to let it be actually just the way it is meant to be. And that's why he says, in a sense, there's no free will. You can't juggle with the laws of the universe. And neither does he. So what is grace? That's what everybody asks. Well, it's kind of speeding up. It's speeding up the process, rearranging it a little, helping you because you have met Baba and you have the link of love and the strength to go through your karma. And that is where his work is. And your work too. Baba says, you take one step toward me and I take 12 steps toward you. You see, that answers this girl who said everything's within me. What do I do? Maybe I can't reach the God within me. You take one step and he'll take 12. The avatar takes 12. And that's a lot. When you watch Baba walk, his step, I don't know, the biggest guy in the place couldn't keep up with Baba. He walks, he seems to just float. You can see that in that early movie, the Nazik film, how Baba just stride and so on. Well, the last lesson I have here is, I've touched on it a little bit, and that is, of course, this is my favorite theme about connections. Again, it's the links of love that draw you to Baba. So what are you doing with your own links of love? If you're constantly cutting them off, for whatever reason, maybe you can't handle being close to people, or whatever, a psychological thing you have going, but you're cutting off more and more links. And let's face it, in 700 years, you're going to need some links. to find Baba. Just like my mother loved astrology and she liked this guy. I didn't care about astrology, but I was very happy to have her link and be my link and so on. And so many times I watched Baba, especially with Narina and Elizabeth and Kitty and all. Baba would be in a mood. He didn't want to see anybody. And I won't go into names and details because it might shock your pants off. But he said, "No, I don't want to see that person." And Narina would say, "Oh, but Baba, such and such." Oh, and then, all right. You see, it was her intercession. This would get real Catholic here. But it's like the link that person had with that other person made Baba turn around and, accept seeing that person. And this happens so many times with letters, with contacts, with meetings. So those links that you have with someone who has a link with Baba, why do we go to India? It's wonderful to have links with the Mandalay. And so it'll go down in history, more links with more Baba lovers. Why do we have groups and meetings? You probably haven't, we don't have great university of theology or something. It's the links of love you form in a group, any group. And, or like a Sahavas or a Baba group or a meeting or friendship with people. These are the links that Baba liked. He showed it so many ways. I could even tell you how happy he was when he came. And there was this little Baba family and a little Monday night group or the little Sufi group. It was little then, yes. And, it was just the links that people made with each other and stayed together in his love that brought them closer to Baba. And Baba spent more time with them, gave them more attention and more care. And that was always the most impressive lesson to me. That's why I feel that we all should, we spread Baba's message of love and truth, but it isn't only mental. It's creating heart-to-heart contacts. That's the only way. You've all probably worked, I know Berkeley Group especially worked on big public outreach, spending your money and your energy. But it's this links of love that will keep drawing those individual people back. And we do all this modern communications, and we should do it, but it's still the heart-to-heart contact that brings people to Baba. Still, we're still in that honeymoon stage. We talked about, working for the trust, or giving to the trust. We're in this honeymoon stage where we have almost a private world of Baba still. We don't have the glare of publicity or things that, really crunch us. We can still be close to the Mandalay, be close to each other without, we don't have Time magazine here, thank God. And, all of that's wonderful. I see I'm getting close to the end. I just want to say how grateful I am for Baba over and over again in my life. And I'll never forget that first glance into his eyes of love. And how he would look at all of us and say, "Oh, you've been with me since age." I don't know whether his family is following him. He's the mischievous chicken and we're all following after him. And that's what I mean, links of love. And let's keep up those links of love. Jai Baba.